Week number 3 of our NFL predictions here on the channel. Of course, we're doing this every single week with the NFL and with college football. And if you missed yesterday's video, well, go make sure to check it out after you finish watching this one in the link down below. Week number 4 college football predictions. So go check that video out. Of course, we're predicting every single college football and NFL game this year. And we did it, of course, yesterday with college football. And here comes the NFL for week number 3. Also, on Monday, we posted our PFL Mana predictions. If you're interested in MMA, that video is up on the channel as well. And if folks, if you haven't yet, make sure that subscribe button down below for some more NFL and college football predictions here on the channel. Let's get into the first of our 16 games this week. Obviously, still not at the bye weeks. I believe bye weeks start in week 5, I think. They used to start in week 4. I think it's week 5 now. But we're going to start things off here with our Thursday night game, the New York Football Jets and the New England Patriots. I'm taking the Patriots to cover, but the Jets to win the football game. Now, the Patriots are 1-1. They played the Seahawks real well last week, and I think this Patriots team, I underrated them, obviously. I did not think they were going to be this good this season. Now, I don't really know if the Patriots are going to keep this up for the rest of the year. I think one would assume they're eventually going to fall off, because eventually they got to go to Drake May, it feels like, right? I mean, I don't think Jacoby Brissett is the guy this entire season for this Patriots team, but if he is, you know, he's doing an all right job. They're taking on the New York Jets this week, who, again, are pretty sizable favorites. You know, the offense looking okay. It's looking better. I still don't think the play calling has been fixed. I'm looking at you, Nathaniel Hackett. And I'll say it every week I come on here. Again, the problem with the Jets last season was not Zach Wilson. And again, Aaron Rodgers is better than Zach Wilson. I'm not saying he's not, but I don't think the Jets are fixed. Again, I think they win the football game. It's a primetime game. They're second of the year. They're first and second of many. They're going to get a lot of primetime games this year, as you will see. But I don't think they cover the 6.5. The Patriots have played everyone tough so far this season. Given it's only been 2 games, but still, they put the Bengals real tough in week 1. They put the Seahawks real tough in week 2. They took the Seahawks to overtime. I don't think the Jets beat them by a touchdown. I think the Jets beat them by 4, 5, 3 points. I think the Jets win. I'm a little bit concerned about this offense, though. They will have their drives. Don't get me wrong. They will have their drives where they will go down the field and score touchdowns. Of course, Braylon Allen had his first last week. Breece Hall is, able to effectively move the football as well. But I do worry about this offense at times because they just stall out. And they'll have drives again where they run the ball on first down, they run the ball on second down, and then you get stuck with 3rd and 10. And again, Aaron Rodgers is a very good quarterback, but a 3rd and 10 on your first passing down of the entire drive is tough for any quarterback. So I am a little bit concerned about the New York Jets just because, again, their play calling is awful. And that's how it was with Zach Wilson last year, and it's still the same way with a top 5 quarterback of all time in Aaron Rodgers. The Jets will win the football game, but they will not cover the 6.5. Jacoby Brissett has been the perfect game manager for the Patriots. The Patriots defense has been all right, and as well, Ramondre Stevenson's been playing a good season so far. I think the Patriots cover the 6.5, but the Jets will win the football game. As we go on to our next one here, we go on to the Sunday games. We start things off with the Chicago Bears and the Indianapolis Colts. I'm taking the Colts to win, and I'm taking them to cover the 2 as well. Okay. The Colts are 0-2. They went to Green Bay last week. They lost. They were playing from behind the entire game. They were not ever really in that football game. They just fell behind early. Again, I'm not selling my stock on Anthony Richardson. I don't think I ever will. I am a little bit worried about the Chicago Bears. It's a team that is 1-1, but their offense has looked absolutely pitiful so far this season. Hell, we look at week 1. They won that game because of their defense. They beat the Titans solely because of their defense. That's the only reason they won that football game. If Will Levis didn't play like absolute crap, and if the special teams for the Bears did not come through either, Chicago would have been in trouble that game. Week 2, the game against the Houston Texans, right? Offense still doesn't really move the football that much. They kept in that game, but really, again, the Bears' offense still left a lot to be desired. The Colts' offense will score. Again, they struggled to get going off the gates against Green Bay last week, but they're going to be back at home at Lucas Oil. Anthony Richardson, again, back at home. He's got to find a way to get the football to Michael Pittman. I mean, really, the Colts have not used Pittman at all this season, it feels like. I think he's got, 7 catches at most this season. Alec Pierce has been big for this football team still. I believe he had a big play called back due to a penalty, I think last week, if I'm not mistaken. I could be completely wrong about that. But I just think the Colts are the better football team here. I'm still not sold on the Chicago Bears. They should probably be 0-2 if Will Levis wasn't stupid. I like Will Levis, so that's not a hit on him at all. But Will Levis has made some really dumb errors so far this season. I hope he cleans it up. But really, I think Chicago should be a team that's 0-2. I like the Colts still. Anthony Richardson, again, is a very good quarterback. They did fall behind in Green Bay, but don't get me wrong. I picked the Colts to win that game last week. But the Packers, even without Jordan Love, are still a very good football team. Malik Willis he's a not comparable to Jordan Love, but he's a decent backup that can really manage their game right. He's able to run he's able to run the read options if you need him to. He's a fast guy. I don't know. The Packers still are not that horrible. I wouldn't be too down on the Colts right now. I'm going to take them to win the football game. Am I all that confident? No, but I just don't think the Bears are very good. And how healthy will the Bears be going into this game? What is Rome Odunze going to be looking like? Is Keenan Allen even going to play this week? He hasn't practiced, I don't think, just yet. Yeah, there's a lot of question marks surrounding the Chicago Bears. I think the Colts win the football game, and obviously they cover the 2 as well. Going on to our next one, the Buccaneers and the Denver Broncos. Guys, don't be surprised if Baker Mayfield's hoisting up a Lombardi trophy at the end of the season. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying at this point. Guys, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are legit. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a top 5 team in football right now, okay? And yeah, I do have the jersey on, but it's fine. Like, Tampa is a top 5 team in the game right now. They go to Detroit, who I thought was top 3, and they still are top 5, but Tampa goes to Detroit and beats the Lions. The Lions are very good. And Tampa went there and won. They avenged their loss in the divisional round of the playoffs last season. Tampa Bay is legit, and they will continue to be legit. They get the Denver Broncos. And guys, the Denver Broncos are just awful. They just are. The Denver Broncos might be the worst team in football. And I'm going to say that a couple times in this video because there are a lot of bad teams in football. There just are, right? But the Broncos are just really bad. They should make the switch to Zach Wilson. I will call for this every single week until the Broncos or until Bo Nix has a very good football game. And I get it. He played a good defense last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I understand. But still, I'm going to call for Zach Wilson to start because Zach Wilson, guys, is just simply the better quarterback. Zach Wilson is better than Bo Nix. Bo Nix can barely throw the ball over 15 yards, and I still want to see Zach Wilson in a system that's not the New York Jets because look how much success Aaron Rodgers has had so far. Given Rodgers has not been bad, but it's not, he hasn't blown anybody away just yet. Tampa Bay is, again, a top 5 team in football, maybe better. Baker Mayfield is him, okay? The defense is playing real well to start the year. They really shut down that Lions team. They look good in week 1 against the Commanders, and Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, that's probably still the best 1-2 punch in the entire NFL. Rachaad White dealing with an injury, which is a little bit concerning. It depends if he plays or not this week. I still think they cover the 7 and they win just because I think Tampa's really good and I think Denver's really bad. We'll see if Rachaad White plays this week. I think he's much better than Bucky Irving. They've been kind of splitting the two. Yeah, Rachaad White's much better than Bucky Irving. We'll see what happens if White plays or not, but Tampa Bay's the much better team. Tampa's going to win and they're going to cover. Again, I don't think anybody is too conflicted with that pick at all. So give me Tampa Bay. Let's move on to our next one here. We've got the Green Bay Packers and the Tennessee Titans. Now, if I didn't hype up the Tennessee Titans as much as I did in the offseason and early on when we were making predictions, I don't think I'd be picking them this week, but I am going to be picking them this week. They are favorites to beat the Green Bay Packers, which I don't love, but I think Tennessee can finally get it going this week. Now, Will Levis has to play clean football, okay? He did not play clean football last week against the Jets. He didn't play clean football week 1 when they took on the Chicago Bears, right? I mean, I think there's the play that, of course, went viral where I forget the down distance, but they're in the red zone, and Will Levis, he's about to get sacked or he's going to run up the pocket, and he tries to pitch it at the last second, the ball gets fumbled. I mean, just go down and take the field goal. Will Levis is doing too much, and Will Levis has looked worse than he did last season, obviously. I don't think the Titans switch quarterbacks. I don't think they should. They should not go to Mason Rudolph. Rudolph is not the answer to their problems right now. Will Levis just has to play clean football. He's got the weapons, right? I mean, they still got Calvin Ridley. They got DeAndre Hopkins. Ridley played a really good game last week. Tony Pollard looks like to be I'm not going to say prime, but looks to be back in really true form. They just got to find the way to get the ball to all their weapons. The defense is not that bad. I don't really mind the Tennessee defense. I think they're able to shut down Green Bay. Again, I feel like the Packers are a little bit one-dimensional here. Even though it worked against the Colts, you got to force Malik Willis to throw the football. Again, he's a much better runner than he is thrower. Jordan Love's not going to be back for this game. If Tennessee can really make Green Bay throw the football, if they can stop the run on 1st and 2nd down, they should be fine in this football game. I am taking Tennessee. Am I a little bit hesitant on the pick? 100% I am. I would not play this at all, especially with the Titans being favorites. Guys, that's rough. Tennessee being favorites in this football game. I don't think they should be favorites, but I'm going to take the Titans. They are at home, too. Green Bay has to go all the way to Tennessee to play this football game. Give me Yeah, give me the Tennessee Titans to win. I'm not too confident with the pick, but I'm taking Tennessee. We go on to our next one. The Houston Texans take on the Minnesota Vikings. I'm taking the Vikings at home. I understand why they're underdogs because Houston's undefeated this year, right? Beating Indianapolis and then beating Chicago last week. But the Vikings are undefeated as well, beating the Giants in week 1. They just beat the San Francisco 49ers. And guys, going up north to take on the Vikings is a tough game. It is tough to go up to Minnesota and play that team. Hell, the Niners figured that out, right? San Francisco hasn't won there since like the 90s. Like 94 is the year. This is a rough game for the Texans. I think it is. Sam Darnold, as he got the Baker Mayfield script this season, right? I mean, it's the bounce back season for Sam Darnold. I think a lot is dependent on if Justin Jefferson plays. Jordan Addison did not play last week. We will see if he does this week. But guys, Sam Darnold's distributing the football really well. He's been playing some really good ball to start the season. Of course, he had the 97-yard touchdown to Justin Jefferson last week. And again, it is huge when you go out there and beat the San Francisco 49ers, a team that, again, is top 5 in the NFL, I would say. The Vikings have surprised me a lot this season. They just have. But the defense has been playing really solid, and their offense looks good too. Sam Darnold, he might not be a flashy guy. He might not be, again, someone who's going to wow you at the quarterback position, but he's going to make all the throws. He's going to, again, do what you need him to do, and that's what he has done so far this season. Again, Justin Jefferson, it depends if he plays this week. I think he's going to. I don't know about Jordan Addison, who did not play last week. But if both of those guys play, the Vikings should be fine in this game. I understand the Texans are really good. Joe Mixon's dealing with an injury. We'll see if he plays this week, right? CJ Stroud, has looked good. But I'll be honest, the Texans offense has, week 1, they looked good against the Colts. Last week, it felt like a game they should have been winning by more. Like, it always felt like the Texans were in control of that game against the Bears on Sunday night, but they never pulled away from that game. And in the end, again, the Bears had a chance to win the game at the very end of that one. Obviously, they didn't. But again, the Texans offense, they always had the ball. They were moving the ball downfield. But again, Kaimi Fairbairn had a day kicking the football, but at the same time, Houston wasn't scoring touchdowns. Well, they had 19 points last week. Like, again, there was a lot of field goals being kicked for Houston. If they're able to execute and punch the ball in the end zone, again, that's going to be huge for this team. I just think the Vikings at home should be able to get the job done here. I think, again, they will force the Texans to kick field goals. The Texans are going to move the ball down the field, and the Texans are going to get into plus territory. It's just a matter of what the Vikings do to stop that. Once again, Houston is trying to score touchdowns. I think the Vikings are going to limit them to field goals. The Vikings defense was really impressive last week against a very good offense with all those weapons over there in San Francisco. Even though, yes, Brock Purdy threw for like 350 yards, but still, at the same time, the Vikings were able to force turnovers when they needed to. The Vikings were able to get stops when they needed to, and they were able to, again, contain the scoring from the San Francisco 49ers. I think the Vikings win this football game. They'll get it at home. Obviously, if you're picking them to win, you're picking them to cover the spread as well, which is only 1.5 point. Again, injuries play a huge factor in this game, but assuming Justin Jefferson plays, I guess assuming Jordan Addison plays as well, I think the Vikings win this game. Sam Darnold, again, has been very good this season. He will continue this week. Again, the running game hasn't been bad either with Aaron Jones. Jones has been pretty solid for this team, too. Give me the Vikings to win. Give me them to cover as well. Going on to our next one here. The Los Angeles Chargers take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. We are taking the Chargers on the road to go into Pittsburgh and win. And again, the Steelers are 2-0 this season. Somehow, some way, the Steelers have not lost a football game just yet, right? They go week 1, they win a game on the road in Atlanta, which I guess is turning out to be a pretty good win considering the Falcons just beat the Philadelphia Eagles. And then, of course, last week, the Steelers go and beat the Denver Broncos, who just, I don't think are very good. I really don't think Denver's that good of a team, but still good for Pittsburgh. They're 2-0 with Justin Fields. Russell Wilson is not completely healthy just yet, but again, you got to keep starting Justin Fields, right? And I get the offense has not blown anybody away. They're scoring like 17 points, 13 points or whatnot. They're not scoring many points and winning football games, but still, how can you bench a guy that's got his team to 2-0? Okay, and I get it. That's kind of what Kenny Pickett was doing in all fairness. Kenny Pickett, I don't think, he might have been 2-0 at one point. But again, Kenny Pickett had this team once at, I believe, 6-3, and they weren't really playing that great of football, but the defense was carrying him, and it was the same thing, how can you bench this guy? Because, again, he's got his team in playoff position. They're not doing that badly. And that was kind of the Kenny Pickett experience in Pittsburgh. I'm not saying Justin Fields is the same way, but it's not like this offense is, again, blowing anybody away. They're scoring points, but not that many. And it's just the defense is holding opposing offenses to basically nothing, and Pittsburgh's winning football games. The Chargers defense, though, is really good, too. The Chargers defense has blown a lot of people away this season. And surprised a lot of people this year. I have them in fantasy football, so I really appreciate the Chargers defense. But again, the pass rush has been getting to teams. I understand they've been playing the best. They've not been playing the best squads, the Raiders and the Panthers. But this is their, no, it's not really a huge test because they're playing Pittsburgh. This is going to be a real defensive game. Whatever the under is on this game, take it. Like, there are not going to be too many points scored in this one. The Chargers offense isn't great. Justin Herbert's going to be dealing with an injury. I assume Herbert's going to play. If he's not, God, Easton Stick, I believe, is still the backup if I'm not mistaken. They had Max Duggan, but they released him, I think. The Chargers offense is, not bad. J.K. Dobbins has had a really good season so far. It's been a bounce back year for Dobbins. I'm really happy for him. Their weapons on offense, Quentin Johnson had 2 touchdowns last week. Ladd McConkey, of course, is around as well. Joshua Palmer is the other receiver for this team too. Hayden Hurst at tight end. Like, these weapons aren't going to blow you away. Even like how J.K. Dobbins, wasn't expected to have this great of a season, but look at him now. I expect the Chargers to win the football game. I expect them to go on the road just because I don't think the Steelers are able to score, obviously. I think the Chargers defense is really good. And I think the Chargers offense will be able to put up points. Not that many, but they're going to be able to put up enough. It's just, my thing is, again, defenses, I think the Steelers have a slightly better defense, but they're close. On offense, I think the Chargers have a better offense. I think it's close, but I don't think it's as close as the defenses are. So with that being said, I think the Chargers go on the road and win this football game. I think Justin Herbert, again, works his magic. Quentin Johnson, for as bad as he was last season, Johnson has not looked too bad so far this year. We will see if the drops come into play and whatnot. But for now, give me the Chargers to go on the road. They're going to cover the 1 point and straight up win the football game in Pittsburgh. Give me the Chargers to go to 3-0. You got 2-0 teams in this game. Give me the Chargers to go 3-0, though, with a victory on the road in Pittsburgh. Next up, the New York Football Giants take on the Cleveland Browns. This is probably the lock of the week. The Cleveland Browns are not losing to the New York Giants. Malik Nabers has been really good, and I will give credit to where credit is due. Malik Nabers has been a really good receiver so far this season. But Daniel Jones doing Daniel Jones things. If you watch the Giants, and I watched a good amount of the Giants-Commanders game, there is a clip where Daniel Jones completely misses Malik Nabers on a crossing route, on 3rd and 10. He tries to force it in, 15 yards downfield, and the ball gets, deflected. But anyways, for the most part, in that Giants-Commanders game, Daniel Jones is eyeing down Malik Nabers every single play. Every single play. Whatever route Nabers is running, Daniel Jones is eyeing it down, and he's looking for Malik Nabers no matter what. And again, it worked for the most part. The Giants were in a good position to win that football game. I believe it was with 2.5 minutes to go. They at 3rd and 5. They could really run the clock down if they got a first down. Jones fires to Malik Nabers. Nabers drops the football, and the Commanders get back in field goal range and win the football game. And the Commanders won that game without scoring a touchdown. Which that's something that we'll get to when we talk about the Commanders later on Monday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals. But the Giants they're just not good. They just aren't. Their defense, even though they stood up in the red zone, which is really odd, which was really weird that how they just played really good red zone defense randomly last week. Their offense just, again, if you take away Malik Nabers, which we'll see if the Browns are able to do, if you're able to pressure Daniel Jones, it's going to be a rough night in the office for New York. It just will be. Their defense is just it's not great. Again, Deshaun Watson played better last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars than he did in week 1 against the Cowboys. He gets a very bad defense here in week number 3. I think Watson should be fine. Something to know about the Browns, though, I don't know why. Maybe there's an injury that hasn't been, disclosed to the public, but why is Deontay Foreman out carrying Jerome Ford? If you go back and look at the numbers from that game, I think it's Foreman has 10 carries for 35 yards, and Jerome Ford had 7 carries for 68 yards. So what are we doing? Now, I'm not just saying that because I have Jerome Ford in a bunch of fantasy leagues, but I understand Ford's your pass catching back, but feed that man the ball. He was really successful in running the football last week against Jacksonville, and they went to Deontay Foreman more, who, again, has been known as more of just a power back in the NFL, but he wasn't all that successful last week. I don't know. I think it's stupid. But anyways, I am taking the Cleveland Browns to win this football game. They're minus 335 favorites. They are 6.5 points favorites as well. But again, this is probably one of the biggest locks of the entire week. The New York Giants have not played good football just yet. Devin Singletary surprisingly has been really good for this football team, but I am fine with the Browns defense stopping New York in this game. Daniel Jones is just Daniel Jones. He is going to, again, he had at one point in the game, I think he had 180 yards and 130 of them were to Malik Nabers. That's what they are going to do this entire season. Eventually, defenses are going to figure that out, and eventually, if defenses are going to figure Malik Nabers out, they're going to bring 2 to cover Nabers, and we will see how Daniel Jones does adjust. I am the Browns are going to be completely fine in this game. They're going to win this game at home, and they're going to improve to 2-1. Next up, we go to the Philadelphia Eagles and the New Orleans Saints. Might be the game of the week, but I'm taking the New Orleans Saints to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. What happened to Derek Carr, and who is this who replaced Derek Carr? No, it's crazy. Derek Carr is playing very good football. He hit the Billie Jean celebration, too, after he scored in Dallas last week. I'm not all in on the Saints, but I'm in on them to win this football game against the Eagles. They are the better team. They just are. The Saints are the biggest surprise of this season. I mean, hell, are we back in 2020? The Bucs and the Saints are two elite teams in the NFL. Again, it certainly feels that way so far. And again, if you had to give a most valuable player award after the first 2 weeks of the regular season, that award's going to Derek Carr. It just is. Derek Carr has been the best player in football so far this season. Again, we mentioned it last week, and I'll mention it again. Rashid Shaheed, I believe I mentioned this last week. Rashid Shaheed is Derek Carr's number one weapon on this team. Yeah, they got Olave. Yeah, they got other guys. They got Kamara to dump it off as well. But Rashid Shaheed is going to set up everything in this offense. He is Derek Carr's Henry Ruggs. And again, Henry Ruggs had a very limited time in the NFL. But Derek Carr loved throwing that deep ball to Henry Ruggs. Rashid Shaheed is kind of that same way. Rashid Shaheed is crazy fast. You saw him burn Dallas in the first quarter last week. You saw him burn Carolina in their game in week number 1 as well. And Derek Carr is not afraid to throw that ball deep too. He is going to take shots. And Derek Carr has been really good. Again, we are looking at prime Derek Carr again I don't know how this is happening, but we're looking at prime Derek Carr in 2024. The Philadelphia Eagles are they're 0-2. No, they're 1-1. They beat the Packers. They're 1-1. That game last week against the Falcons, I mean, there was so many missed opportunities in that game for Philadelphia, right? But especially, we'll talk about the end of the game. I mean, what are we doing, okay? 3rd and 3, you can either run the football at Saquon Barkley, who's averaging like 6 yards a carry on 3rd and 3, and you keep the clock running too, considering Atlanta has no timeouts, or you can throw the ball on 3rd and 3, which I don't really like, but still you throw it, Saquon Barkley has the ball in his hands and he drops it. So you save Atlanta a timeout, you kick the field goal, you're only up by 6, Atlanta goes right down the field and scores a touchdown. That was the softest zone coverage I have ever seen, ever, from the Philadelphia Eagles in that last drive on Monday Night Football last week. It was atrocious. Kirk Cousins picked them apart. Now, the defense was all right for most of the game, but still, now you're taking on this Saints offense, which I can't believe I'm saying this high-powered Saints offense. They just are. Alvin Kamara, for now, is back. Now, I traded Alvin Kamara in fantasy before the season started, and I thought I lost the trade. I'll give you a quick rundown of this trade. I thought I lost, but I did it anyway. If I can remember it off the top of my head, essentially it was Alvin Kamara and Adam Thielen for Devontae Adams. I thought I lost the trade, I'll be honest with you. I thought I did, and I still think I kind of lost the trade, even though Adams has been doing all right. Didn't do great in week 1 against the Chargers, but last week he did, score against the Ravens. Still though, I didn't like the trade. I didn't like it. There was some other players involved, but that was like the main part of the trade. I think I downgraded at tight end as well, but it is what it is. That was the main part of the trade. I thought I lost it just because, again, I was like, all right, Kamara's going to be a really good PPR machine this season for Derek Carr, and so far this season he has been. Kamara's been a monster. Again, he ripped off that 60-yard screen for the touchdown against Dallas last week. I think the Saints are the better football team. Derek Carr is playing lights out. Their defense is playing really well as well. I think they shut down Philadelphia, especially a Philadelphia team without A.J. Brown this week. It looks like Brown's going to be out for at least 2 more weeks, I do believe. Jalen Hurts, again, is a really good fantasy football quarterback, but he leaves a lot to be desired on the field. I mean, again, that last pass where he tried to force it to Devontae Smith on Monday Night Football, he had Saquon Barkley wide open in the flats for another pickup of 8. He would have got out of bounds. They had timeouts as well. I don't know. Jalen Hurts is just to me, I don't know. I'm taking the Saints to win the football game. I'm taking them to cover as well. The New Orleans Saints going to 3-0 in the regular season. I can't believe it. To our next one. We're going on to the afternoon games. The Carolina Panthers taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. I think the Panthers are better now. They are much better with Andy Dalton than they were with Bryce Young. Again, I've not seen Andy Dalton play so far this year, but I just know it. Hell, I picked up Andy Dalton in my fantasy league. I'm excited for the Red Rifle, okay? They are much better now. Now, they're not going to win this game. They're going to cover, though. I think they're going to cover. 6 points is way too much for the Raiders. This is way too many points. They're going to cover, but they're going to lose. The Raiders are the better football team. Don't get me wrong. And the Panthers, again, not all of their problems are going to be fixed by switching from Bryce Young to Andy Dalton, but some of them will be. It's just, again, Bryce Young in college was good. But again, he was playing for Alabama. He had the best offensive line in college football. It's much different now that he's in the NFL, and the Panthers' O-line's not very good. Their weapons, honestly, this year are not that horrible. I mean, again, they tried to improve, and I think they did. Obviously, you still got Thielen coming back, right? You got Leggett now, Deontay Johnson. Are those elite weapons? No, but they are serviceable. And again, I think Andy Dalton is going to make good use of him. Chuba Hubbard has been playing pretty good football, decent football as well. But Carolina, again, just looked horrible last week against the Chargers. I think Andy Dalton keeps this game somewhat competitive. I think they only lose by, 5, 4, 3 points. I think, again, the Raiders came back from behind, beat the Ravens. I was very surprised at that. I got eliminated from my survival pool because, again, the Ravens lost to the Raiders, which is atrocious. We'll get to the Ravens in a second here. But Gardner Minshew, again, Pro Bowl quarterback last season for the Indianapolis Colts. Gardner Minshew's not bad. He's really not. He's got weapons too. Brock Bowers, Devonta Adams, Jacoby Myers. Their run game is okay. Zamir White's getting most of the touches. I think Alexander Madison like 3 carries all game last week. He scored a touchdown, but still he had like 3 carries all game. It's primarily Zamir White. The Raiders are not that bad. I picked them week 1 actually to beat the Chargers. I didn't think they were going to beat the Ravens, obviously. I think they win the football game. They're not going to cover, though. Their defense is not bad. Again, Andy Dalton's not going to fix the abysmal offensive line play by the Carolina Panthers. He's not, but he is going to fix something, and that's going to be quarterback play. Dalton is not going to make stupid reads. Dalton is not going to, again, take as many sacks as Bryce Young because Dalton has pocket awareness. Dalton is going to throw the football away when he needs to. I think again, the Panthers are going to be much better this week. Andy Dalton is still a very serviceable quarterback in the NFL, and the Panthers will keep this game competitive, but they're not going to win. Give me Vegas to get the job done. I believe it's going to be Andy Dalton's first start since last year when he started in Seattle. That game, the Panthers game against Seattle when Bryce Young was injured. I don't want to call Bryce Young a bust just yet. I just don't think he starts again this season. I think Andy Dalton is going to prove he is the much better quarterback. And I think, again, we kind of discredit some of these older guys in the NFL. Hell, Joe Flacco had a lot of success at the tail end of last season. And Joe Flacco, don't get me wrong, should be starting right now in the NFL. But I think we, again, discredit a lot of these older guys, Andy Dalton, Joe Flacco, just because they're not this new wave of mobile quarterback. Well, hell, Joe Flacco was very good at the end of last season. Andy Dalton's going to be very good this season as well. I don't know how many games the Panthers win, but I think Andy Dalton is going to be good in his own right, giving the Carolina Panthers to cover the spread, but the Vegas Raiders to win the football game. We go on to our next one here. We're going to Seattle. The Seahawks take on the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins, man. No Tua Tagovailoa, obviously. He is on injured reserve. He'll be out for at least 6 weeks with the concussion. Okay. This team, again, Tua, I've said it time in and time out. Tua's a good quarterback. Tua's not the best guy for that Miami system, but he's good enough, right? Tua is going to be able to distribute the football. He's going to be able to, again, get the ball out and get it to his big weapons. Now you go to Skylar Thompson, who we have seen in this Miami system for quite a bit now. I believe he was a K-State guy, if I'm not mistaken, right? Skylar Thompson started a playoff game for Miami against the Bills a couple of years ago. Skylar Thompson is not that great, though. Again, he's not going to be able to work this offense like Tua is going to be able to. I think the Dolphins are going to go somewhat run-heavy this week. We'll see if they get Mostert back, but if not, Devon Achane is an elite back in the NFL right now. But again, Devon Achane's game's going to be... Actually, I don't think Achane's game's going to be too hindered because, again, I think they're going to really look to work through their running back this week. Again, they run a lot of passing plays to Devon Achane. They're going to run a lot of screens to Devon Achane. Just get that guy the ball in space and see what happens. But Miami is definitely going to suffer without their quarterback this week. That goes without saying. They get the Seahawks this week, who are surprisingly 2-0, right? A week 1 victory over the Broncos and a week 2 victory against the Patriots. Time will only tell to see how good their opponents are this season, right? And again, I don't think the Broncos are all that good. The Patriots are just the Patriots to me. I don't think they don't blow me away by any stretch of the imagination either. I just think their defense has been really carrying them through football games, which is another thing where I think the Jets are going to struggle with this week. But anyways, I just think the Seahawks are the better football team. Geno Smith, I was very low on Geno Smith coming into the season, and Geno Smith has been playing decent football this year. I'm not going to discredit him there. Geno Smith has been playing good ball. We'll see if they get Ken Walker back this week. If not, hell, they got Charbonnet as well, who, again, Charbonnet is not a bad backup running back in the NFL. And again, the receiving core is, one of the better receiving cores in the NFL. DK Metcalf, JSN, who feasted against the New England Patriots last week. Tyler Lockett as well is always that serviceable guy. If you need him on third down, he is going to be there. I just think the Seahawks are the better football team. You saw the Buffalo Bills have a lot of success on offense against the Dolphins, and the Seahawks are able to push the ball downfield as well. This is one of the farthest games any team's going to have to travel this season in terms of in the States. The Dolphins have to go all the way down to Florida, all the way up to Seattle. I mean, that is a long plane ride. You get the afternoon setting for them for this game. I think it's just rough. Again, Miami has to travel the entire country for this football game. They're getting 4 points on the road. I think the Seahawks cover that, and I think the Seahawks win the football game as well. Seattle is simply just better going into this one. They have more weapons. They have the better offense. So give me the Seattle Seahawks to win at home and to cover the spread as well against the Miami Dolphins. To our next one, America's Game of the Week. It is the Fox 1 p.m., 4 p.m. game, wherever you are in the States. And Tom Brady, for the third consecutive week, will be calling a Dallas Cowboys football game. Which again, it's weird. Like again, Fox signs him and they only have him do Cowboys games. Now next week the Cowboys are on Thursday Night Football against the Giants, I think they're on Thursday against the Giants. So there will be no Tom Brady and the Cowboys next week, but the Ravens and the Cowboys going into the season is supposed to be a great game. I mean, now you got a 1-1 Cowboys team versus an 0-2 Ravens team. I think the Cowboys win. The Ravens have just been mid so far this season. I mean, again, that choke job last week to the Raiders speaks volumes. I just think it does. They were in control, well in control of that football game, and they just let it, they just dropped it. I mean, seriously, that game, that was all Baltimore in that game. And the third and fourth quarter, here come the Raiders. Gardner Minshew was able to move the football downfield, and really, again, the Ravens offense just stalled out as well. Dallas is the better football team, and I understand it. They lost to the Saints last week, but the Saints have looked really good so far this season, and we're going to see how good the Saints are against the Eagles as well. I'm still not down on the Cowboys. I think they just got off to a very rough start in that game against New Orleans. When New Orleans was scoring touchdowns last week in Dallas, the Cowboys were out there scoring field goals. And again, it was just, they were playing from behind the entire game. They had some costly turnovers. Dak did make some mistakes, sure. But Baltimore going down to Dallas, I just think is a really tough game for them. Dallas is going to be, uber motivated to win this football game after dropping last week at home. I don't think they lose back-to-back home games. Again, they are on that, they are in the feature game again this week like they always are. They're the Cowboys, but still. Baltimore's defense, I thought was pretty decent going into the year, but they really haven't shown that necessarily so far this year. And Lamar Jackson has just been okay this year. Derrick Henry has really not been a game-changing player so far this season. Unfortunately, he just hasn't, if I'm being honest with you. Henry has looked somewhat slow. And again, I just don't think the Ravens are that great right now. I'm not saying they're going to be bad the entire rest of the season, but compared to how they've looked compared to the Cowboys just have looked better. The Cowboys have. The Cowboys have the better defense. They have the better offense as well. Right now, the Cowboys have the better offense. The Cowboys will be getting Jake Ferguson back, it appears. That's a huge part to their offense. Again, CeeDee Lamb is, getting back into his position or getting back into his, groove of things, right? Brandon Cooks is still there for the Cowboys as well. The Cowboys need to establish a run game. They couldn't do that last week because they were trailing the entire game against New Orleans. But, it was mostly Dowdle last week against New Orleans. We'll see how much they get Ezekiel Elliott involved as well. But I think the Cowboys are the better football team. They should win this game. They get it at home. They are underdogs, which I find is a little bit surprising against an 0-2 Ravens team that's coming off a loss to the Las Vegas Raiders. But I think we're fine with the Cowboys here in this game. I trust in Dak Prescott a little bit. Giving the Cowboys to win this game at home and take down the Ravens and send Baltimore to 0-3 this season. Wouldn't have thought that one, but the Ravens now fall to 0-3 after this Cowboys win. Next up, we got the Detroit Lions taking on the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona at State Farm Stadium. I'm taking the Lions to win the football game. I'm taking them to cover. Okay. The Cardinals, right? Dominant performance last week against the Los Angeles Rams, who may be, again, I told you earlier, I was going to say this multiple times in this video, the Rams may be the worst team in football. With the injuries, they may be the worst team in football. Okay, and the Cardinals beat the living hell out of them. It was atrocious for the Rams. I mean, I'm not going to hide from this. I said the Rams were going to win that football game, and I was very confident the Rams were going to win that football game. Well, I didn't think the Rams were that incompetent. Guys, they're horrible. The Rams are absolutely disgusting, and we're going to get to them in the next game. But with that being said, the Cardinals will not have all that success this week against the Detroit Lions, who are still one of the elite teams in the NFL. I don't care that they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't care. Now, I said the Bucs were going to cover last week. I think that was a pretty easy pick. The line was way too big on that one. It was like plus 8.5, plus 7.5. But the Lions are still an elite team in the NFL. Jared Goff is still an elite quarterback in the NFL, and I am not afraid to say that. The Lions will be fine in this football game. The Lions defense will shut down Arizona for the most part, right? The Cardinals have looked really good this season, which is surprising to me. Again, they week one, they had that game against the Bills where they were in that game. They were winning that game in the first half, and slowly it started to unravel for Arizona. But that game last week, again, I will give credit to Marvin Harrison Jr. I will give credit to Kyler Murray. I like Marvin Harrison a lot. Again, those first two drives were absolutely crazy. First three drives, really, where Marvin Harrison was just able to get open. And again, Kyler played an excellent football game. And that's, I feel like we're finally seeing the same Kyler Murray we saw in 2021 in Arizona when they started that year like 9-0 and eventually, and they finished the year like 11-6 and lost in the first round to Los Angeles in the playoffs. I feel like that's kind of the Kyler Murray we're seeing again, though. We are seeing pre-ACL injury Kyler Murray once more, and he's looking really good. And Kyler Murray, again, at his best, you forget how good Kyler Murray is. Their defense for Arizona, I don't know how to gauge it so far because the Rams offense, and again, I will go on a long spiel about the Rams in our next game. Spoiler alert, I'm taking the 49ers. The Rams offense is so just horrible. It's terrible. Their defense is really bad too. They lost Aaron Donald and they do not know what to do on defense. They can get no pressure on the quarterback. They don't know how to tackle. They can't cover anybody. So I don't know how much of that last game was the Cardinals are really good or just the Rams are really awful. I'm going to lean towards the Rams are just really awful. But again, we will see. Detroit, I still think they're really good. Jared Goff's the 4th leading passer in the NFL right now. I think he's going to be the leading passer in the NFL when the season ends, just because that's just how the Rams play. Because again, Jared Goff's game benefits so much from that heavy run attack the Lions have with Montgomery, with Jahmyr Gibbs. Jared Goff is just he's a very good quarterback. He knows how to manage this offense, and the Lions should be fine in this football game. They're going to win this one on the road. Going to Arizona, it's not that tough an environment to play in. Going to the desert, the Lions should be fine in this game. They're still playing in a dome. They'll be all right. Jared Goff and the Lions should win. They should go to 2-1 with the victory here. Again, a slight setback last week in their loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm fine with it. The Lions should be okay to win this football game. Give me Detroit to cover the 3 and to win on the road. Okay. The Los Angeles Rams. Now, okay, this is my time to go off on the Rams. This team may go 3-14 this season. Matthew Stafford is obviously injured. I think he is. Stafford's holding his wrist after every play. He's trying to sidearm the football. He looks incredibly slow. And oh yeah, Nakua and Cooper Kupp are both out. What is going on for this Rams team? They can't get anything going running the football. They tried running with I don't know. There's so many times where I saw Kyren Williams run straight into a wall of Arizona defenders on 1st and 2nd down. The Rams are screwed. They just are. Their defense cannot stop anything. They just can't. Even in that Lions game, the Rams defense was not able to get, they were able to get 2 stops the entire game, and Arizona literally scored on every single drive against Los Angeles until the 4th quarter in that game. And by the time it was the 4th quarter, it was a 20-point, 30-point football game. I don't care this game is in SoFi Stadium because this is just Levi Stadium South. The Niners fans are going to take over this game, obviously. That's what happens every single time the Niners play the Rams. Obviously, because all the Niners fans have money to go down to Los Angeles and buy all the tickets, right? I mean, hell, they're from the Bay Area, right? The Niners are going to win this football game. They're going to cover the 7 points fairly easily. They lost the Vikings last week. That's fine. Again, going to Minnesota is rough. Again, the Niners have not won there since 94, I do believe. It's okay, right? Brock Purdy should be all right, even without Deebo Samuel. Ayuk, again, from missing all of training camp, he's, getting back into the swing of things now. Juwan Jennings will have an extended role. They still don't have Ricky Pearsall back, obviously, but I believe Pearsall is going to have to be back week 5 now, considering Deebo is injured. George Kittle has seen a big increase of targets so far this year, obviously, right? With, again, Ayuk just getting back into everything, Deebo now out, George Kittle is going to have monster games for the next couple weeks. George Kittle should be the tight end 1 in fantasy this next week. And I think, again, he's going to absolutely feast on this Rams team. No Christian McCaffrey, no problem. Jordan Mason's still been all right for them. Brock Purdy, I believe, leads the NFL in passing yards right now. He had 350 last week against the Vikings. He should put up another monster day against the Rams. Because, again, the Rams won't be able to stop anything. Tre'Davious White is a shell of his former self. You put Brandon Ayuk on Tre'Davious White, and it's game over. The Rams are not good. The Rams are not a good football team. What do the Rams have on offense? So their receivers are now, Tyler Johnson should be the number 1. I don't think he's going to be the number 1. I really like Tyler Johnson a lot. I think he's a really good receiver, but he's probably going to be the number 2. Demarcus Robinson's 1. Yeah, Tyler Johnson at 2, Tutu Atwell at 3. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. Corum and, Kyren are your running backs, but they have one of the worst O-lines in all of football. Stafford's got no time to throw the football. He's clearly injured. Stafford is definitely injured, but he's not going to sit out, so the Rams are screwed. They are absolutely screwed. The 49ers win this football game at Levi Stadium South. They cover the 7 points, and they win the football game. That's not a hot take. We go on to Sunday Night Football. The Kansas City Chiefs travel to Atlanta to take on the Atlanta Falcons. I'm taking the Chiefs to win the football game, and I'm taking them to cover the 3.5. Atlanta beat the Eagles, so what? I don't care. I don't care. The Chiefs should be fine in this football game. The Chiefs are the much better football team. Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback in football. I'm not afraid to say that. Even though, again, Mahomes hasn't blown anybody away so far this season, he's still the best quarterback in the league. Travis Kelce, hasn't really done anything. Not really. He did have that big play called back at the end of the game in the fourth quarter against the Bengals, sure. But other than that, again, that play technically doesn't count. Travis Kelce has not done really anything for this Kansas City team. Now, they're going to be without Isaiah Pacheco. They just signed Kareem Hunt. They re-signed Hunt, which I think is a good move for them, even though Hunt is getting up there in age. I think that's a really good move for them. Carson Steele is going to be the starting back this week. They got Samaje Perine as well in replacement again of Pacheco, who's going to be out for at least 6 weeks, I think. Hollywood Brown obviously is out for the entire season. So again, with that being said, Xavier Worthy's going to step up, right? These guys are going to get more play in terms of their receiving game as well. I think the Chiefs are the better football team here. Atlanta, Kirk Cousins looked good at the end of the game against the Eagles. I'm still not sold on Atlanta at all. I just think, again, their week 1 game at home was so bad against the Steelers. And yeah, they beat the Eagles, but I don't think the Eagles are that good either right now. Kyle Pitts is good. Bijan Robinson's a very good football player as well. But again, I said this at the beginning of the year as well. I don't think Kirk Cousins is the solution to all their problems, because I think their problems start with their own team. And originally, I don't think Desmond Ridder was initially the problem, even though, again, Kirk Cousins is a big upgrade for that football team. I just don't know how good the rest of these guys on this team are. I understand they won last week. I'm just still not sold on Atlanta. I will never be sold in Atlanta, I think, until they really go on a run this season. I said at the beginning of the year as well, I thought it was stupid Atlanta were the favorites to win the NFC South this season. I think again, I've been high on the Buccaneers. I didn't think they were top 3 like I think they are right now. But I was saying all season long, last year and this year, that Tampa's going to win this division. They're still by far the best team in the division. Atlanta's 3rd, I would think. I think New Orleans is better than this team. I think the Chiefs go on the road and win. Mahomes is going to be able to outscore this Atlanta team. No Pacheco, no problem. Carson Steele is just a white version of Isaiah Pacheco. I'm serious. Like, he's fat. He's not as fast as Pacheco, but he literally runs just like Isaiah Pacheco. I'm a little bit concerned with this ball security, but at the same time, Kareem Hunt's coming in. Kareem Hunt might be on the active roster this week. So Hunt is coming in. Hunt should be the starting running back in a couple weeks' time, and the Chiefs should be fine. Kansas City goes on the road and they go beat Atlanta on Sunday Night Football. We have 2 Monday Night Football games. We start things off here with Jacksonville and Buffalo. I'm taking the Jags to cover the 5.5 on the road, but I'm taking the Bills to win the football game. The Jaguars are 0-2. Ooh, yikes. Yeah, they are 0-2. Right? They lost when they renamed the stadium last week, Trevor Bank Stadium. Or obviously, it's originally Everbank, but they called it Trevor Bank last week. And Lawrence had his first game in like 15 games where he didn't throw a touchdown pass. That's not great. The Jags offense leaves a lot to be desired right now for me. They really haven't figured it out. The weapons around Trevor Lawrence just aren't the greatest. Brian Thomas, Christian Kirk, Trevor Etienne has not looked great so far. So Travis Etienne has not looked great so far this season. When you look at the Buffalo Bills, surprisingly, I think the Bills are the best team in the AFC East. I think they just are. All right, they're 2-0 so far this season. I thought, again, with them losing a lot of talent, with them losing Stephon Diggs, I didn't think they were going to be the same team. Well, hell, Josh Allen just proves why. Again, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL because of the way he's able to take over the football game still without all of his weapons that he's had for the last couple of seasons, right? James Cook has looked really good so far this season. They need to get Dalton Kincaid involved a little bit more, but that's fine. The Bills defense has been playing really good football as well. I think the Bills win the football game. I think they win it by 3 points. That's why I'm having the Jaguars cover. Because for me, I think the Jaguars eventually have got to start to figure it out. I think they have to, right? Because again, a loss last week at home against Cleveland. Their loss in week 1 as well to the Miami Dolphins. Eventually, the Jaguars need to get things going, and I think they will figure things out. I still thought the Jaguars were one of the better teams in the AFC South. Going into the season, I like the Jaguars a lot. But man, again, this is rough. They are 0-2, and they are likely going to be 0-3. You get this game on prime time. I like Trevor Lawrence a lot, but their team around him just isn't the greatest. And again, Lawrence hasn't been playing great football either. But I just feel like his weapons are not the greatest. And I think Lawrence is just I don't think he's in a bad situation. I just think, again, Lawrence is in a position where he has to do a lot to win football games. And it's going to be rough against the Bills defense that was able to shut down the Dolphins. Even prior to the Tua injury, again, the Bills were well in control of that football game. They were stopping Miami on the offensive side of the ball. Miami's run game wasn't really going all that well either. And the Bills offense, again, is able to score, and they're able to put up points. And Josh Allen, again, is one of the better quarterbacks in football. He's the second best quarterback, I think, in all the game. Give me the Bills to win the game. I don't think they cover, though, because I think the Jaguars are able to keep it competitive enough. I think the Bills win the game by a field goal. I think this game will be competitive, but again, I think that the Bills will win outright. Going on to our final game. Oh, God, I don't know why my camera's like that. That is very odd. going on to our final game, as I adjust this, we've got the Washington Commanders and the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm taking the Bengals to win, but I'm taking the Commanders to cover 7.5. I like Jaden Daniels, man. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed with Jaden Daniels. He's been playing better than Caleb Williams this season, obviously, right? Jaden Daniels, so far, looks like the best quarterback in that rookie class. He just is, right? I mean, again, former Heisman Trophy winner, won it last season. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed with Jaden Daniels. I think the Bengals win their first game of the season, though. Again, they are 7.5-point favorites. I simply think that's too much. I think it is. I think Washington's able to stay in this one just because their offense, if they figure out how to put the ball in the end zone, Washington's going to be pretty good. They had, 6 field goals last week, which was enough for them to win the game against New York, and obviously it's not going to be enough for them to win the game this week against Cincinnati, but they were able to move the football downfield. Zach Ertz has seen a career resurgence for Washington this season. It's been weird. Austin Eckler has not been horrible either. For the lack of weapons Jaden Daniels has, he's making the best of it, and he's been able to really hurt teams with his feet as well. I'm a little bit concerned about him getting injured. I just am, because why wouldn't you be? Again, he got injured at one point last week against the Giants, came right back into the huddle to play later. But I am a little bit concerned. I would be lying to you to say I wasn't. This game's in Cincinnati. The Bengals should win. Again, the Bengals, I thought, got robbed in that game against Kansas City. There's just a lot of calls that did not go their way. I'm not necessarily saying that defensive pass interference at the end of the game, but just a lot of things. You go back and rewatch that play. Again, the Bengals are getting held on the line that entire 4th and 16 where Mahomes scrambles out and, gets that penalty call. I mean, I thought the Bengals got screwed in that one personally. Cincinnati, again, it's just a thing. I was very low on them going into last week, but I'm willing to say, again, it's just a thing with the Bengals. They're going to start off slow every single season. Jamar Chase didn't show up for camp. T. Higgins, T. Higgins should be back this week, I would think. Zach Moss and Chase Brown, again, fill out the running back core for this Bengals team. And shout out to Mike Gesicki, who had a really good week last week against Kansas City. You've got 2 tight ends on both sides of the ball here for Washington and for Cincinnati, who have seen, again, career resurgences here in 2024. And Gesicki and Ertz, 2 guys who I kind of thought were done, if I'm being honest. Both those guys have played really good football so far this season. The Bengals are the better football team. They're going to win this game. Joe Burrow, again, needs to get the offense going, and that's kind of what they did last week. Again, Burrow had that, he had that turnover, the fumble in the third or fourth quarter. That really hurt Cincinnati, but they're still able to move the ball downfield. Same with Washington, too. That's why I think, again, the Commanders will cover the spread because the Commanders can score. And they're not going to have another game where they just kick 6 field goals. They will get in the end zone this game, and they're going to make this game a lot closer than a lot of people do think. The Bengals will win, but the Commanders will cover the spread. But to close out the weekend, I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals to win on Monday Night Football, but again, the Commanders will keep it within 7 points. So folks, thank y'all for watching our week number 3 NFL predictions. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back next week again for week number 4. And go make sure to check out our college football predictions here on the channel as well, doing one of these every single week for the rest of the college football and the NFL season. So folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. And Mamba forever.